get to go across the plains, if you will, of Illinois, and I see the harvest going on. And I don't know, it just warms my heart. The time of year that not only the harvest comes in, but it reminds me of God so much. The harvest that He speaks of, it thrills my soul. So I think we had a great week last week. Does anybody agree with that? It really was fun. I mean, Tom, you did a great rendition of the historian of Christopher. It's amazing you've lived as long as you have to know all that. but it was fun. I really got a lot out of it. And man, how about that group that was here? They were really, really good, weren't they? Yeah, it took us down memory lane in a lot of cases, me especially. And then the food, man, the food was awesome. So it was a great time. This week we're going to get back on our characters. The world again. The reason we're doing this is because the world is out there pushing ghosts and goblins and warlocks and witches and everything that's kind of anti-God, right? And so we're going down this trail this time of year to counter that. We want to pay attention to what God has to say to us, even in evil times, even in an evil world, if you will. So we've talked about Paul, we've talked about a couple judges, and I want to get into Esther. Esther is 10 chapters at the very end of, it's a book at the very end of the historical section of the Old Testament. And so it's packed with a lot of lessons. You have some main characters of the book. It's really only about 4. You have King Xerxes, you have Haman, and then you have Mordecai, and then you have Queen Esther. Now, without going through, I tried this. I started down the path of recounting the story, and it just became so long. So I'm going to summarize, and if you haven't read it lately, I would encourage you to do it. I mean, it's a great story. It reads like a novel, right? It's very jam-packed with a plot and a storyline that glorifies God, but it has a message. It has some lessons in there that we're going to look into. I think that the main lesson of all, the overlying theme of the book, is this: God protects His people. Israel has been God's favorite for centuries at that point, going all the way back to Abraham. But God exiled them because of the fact that they didn't obey, right? They were cast into an exile that went to Babylon. And that's where this story is basically taking place. It's around 479 BC. Esther is probably roughly around 20 years old, 25. No more than 25, I would think. She is a Jewish princess, if you will, in her own right in God's eyes, even before the book uncovers her queenship. She's beautiful. She has a great finesse. She knows how to talk the talk and walk the walk. In a series of circumstances, King Xerxes requires his wife to come and, in his presence with his band, his administration, if you will, and wear nothing but the crown. And I mean nothing but the crown. And she refused. So he, in turn, divorces her, if you will, banishes her from his presence, and begins to seek a new queen. He goes throughout the land, and there's many that come before him to I guess, basically campaign for the next queen. But Mordecai, the uncle of Esther, he convinces her to go and enter this contest, for lack of a better term. And she does. And King Xerxes sees her beauty and notices her finesse and her ways and falls in love with her. And she becomes the new queen of the country, of the land, Persia. So as the story goes, she progresses through to gain more and more favor with King Xerxes. Haman, a confidant of King Xerxes, rises to power, who is evil and who has evil in his heart. He desires to be worshipped. So he convinces the king that everyone needs to have a decree of worshiping him. And so he goes before Mordecai, and Mordecai refuses to worship him. And that angers Haman. You see, Haman is a descendant of King Agag. You'll find King Agag in the 15th chapter of 1 Samuel. God has commanded Saul to kill all of the Amalekites, and King Agag is their king. When he does go through and destroy all of the country, he spares the king. Samuel finds that Saul had done this, and so he goes and he tells Saul that he has disobeyed God. And because of that, because of his disobedience, God is going to take the kingdom away from him. And in turn, Samuel takes care of the deed himself and kills the king, kills King Agag. Well, Haman, being a descendant of this king, he is very angry with the Jewish nation. And knowing that Mordecai was Jewish, takes exception to him and wants to not only kill Mordecai, but to wipe out the entire Jewish nation. He goes and he talks to King Xerxes again, and they ask for a decree where they're basically going to genocide the entire state of Israel from the face of the earth. Now, the irony of this is that Queen Esther and Mordecai has kept her Jewish descendancy away from everybody else. No one knows that she's Jewish. So as the story goes, Esther, finding out from Mordecai that this genocide was about to go on, she goes before the king, full of fear and trembling. Because you just don't go up to the king, even if you're the king's wife, the king's queen, and ask for a meeting. But she does. She asks and requests that they have a dinner, that he brings Haman, to where she will reveal everything that he is doing to her, or doing to her country. Mordecai, who had, in previous chapters, had developed a relationship with King Xerxes because he had learned of an assassination plot of King Xerxes. And he tells Esther. Esther, in turn, tells the king. And Mordecai has favor with the Lord, or with the king, has favor with the king. So as the story unfolds, all of these players are coming to a point where they're going to collide. At this dinner, Esther notifies the king of this genocide, and Mordecai is again remembered by the king in a very favorable way. He asked Haman if it were he, how he would praise someone that he likes, someone that has shown favor in the king's eye. Haman, that the king was talking about him, he goes off to this prideful state of having a big parade, and the person that the king would honor would be on the king's horse with the king's robe and the king's crown. King Xerxes likes that. And he tells Haman to have Mordecai do that. Let us do that with Mordecai. Which, Haman now was very, very distraught, angered even more, because that is Haman's arch enemy. But as it turned out, all of this scene, all of the circumstances that come together, God is protecting Israel. God turns on Haman through King Xerxes because of Esther's bravery. And Haman, who designed the gallows for Mordecai, the king has ordered Haman, because of his evils, that he should be on those gallows. So Haman dies. So that's basically the story of Esther. And that's kind of a blitzkrieg, and I understand that. But it's worth reading. It's worthwhile reading. If you have, have a few minutes this week, I would encourage you to do it. But what do we learn? What do we learn from Esther? We have the story where all of these players come into the presence of God in some way or another. But where's God in all this? You see, God is never mentioned, the word God is never mentioned in the book of Esther. Never. But God is there. There's so much symbolism, there's so much metaphors that one who's reading it cannot miss it. And I think that's the way it is in our lives sometimes. We go through our lives and we may not necessarily mention the word God, but our spirit and our culture, the way we do things, the way we walk, the way we talk, that needs to point to God, right? So it's just the way we are as Christians. Just the way we are. At least that's the way we should be. And so it is in the book of Esther. There is a culture, there is a way of life that is very significant in the book of Esther. But even greater than Esther are the lessons. Lesson number one that I pull from it is God has a plan for our lives. I'm banking on that, aren't you? I want God to have a plan for me, because I do a really good job of messing everything up as a human, right? And so do you. Because we don't live the life that we should. We struggle, we stumble. So we are dependent on God to help us live a life according to his plan. Same is true with Esther. In Esther 4:14, it says this. Mordecai is talking. For if you remain silent, again, Mordecai is trying to convince Esther to go before the king. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time. For such a time. I think that the nice thing in some regard is that whatever God has for his purpose that involves me, even if I fail, he's still going to get his will done. He's still going to have his purpose done. And that's what Mordecai is basically telling to Esther. Even if it's not you, God is going to protect us. There is faith. There is faith in that statement. But at the same time, don't you want to be in God's hands? I do. I want to be in a place where God uses me to do his will, to do his purposes, helping me to do it the right way. And so, in this lesson, where God has his plan, I think that it's telling us that we should try to be in that plan. Prayerfully and talking to God on a daily basis and worshiping him and asking him to guide us. Right? Even in the search for your senior ministry, you're doing that. I hope that everybody in this room is praying for your next senior minister on a daily basis. I hope you're praying for the leadership. I hope you're praying for the search team. And I hope you're praying for that person, whoever that is in your future. Because it's important. You want the right person to lead you. You want the right shepherd. And you want the right attitude, both in the congregation as well as the leadership. Lesson 2 is we are given the divine moments in our lives to alter circumstances. I don't know about you, but I don't believe in circumstances or accidents, if you will. I'm not talking about car accidents. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm talking about God and his timing and in his will. I just don't believe in a coincidence. I think God is guiding his children, you and me, every second of every minute of every hour of every day of every month of every year. Now, some will tell you that that's really far-fetched because they really don't believe that God is that much involved. Well, I think they are. I think that he is. I think that they are wrong. Now, I'm not saying that God doesn't let me use my free will and lets me mess up. He doesn't. He does. But I think he's out there trying to guide me. I think he's out there putting people in my life that will influence me to do his will or discourage me from not doing his will. I think God's involved a lot. The world will tell you that he's not. The world views that are around these days are all about there is no God and God is not involved. And if he does exist, he doesn't care. That he set up this thing at the very beginning and it's like a snowball going down a hill. And he's letting it go. He can't stop it, doesn't want to stop it. I just don't agree with that. Because there's too much evidence in the Bible from Jesus to Paul to Peter to all of the characters that we've talked about and even more, where God has used them to further his kingdom. Oh, that's true. There's no doubt that we have certainly sinned and we don't deserve to be in his presence. But that's why Jesus came, right? That's why the Holy Spirit is here. To help us and guide us and to hold us in check. Hold us in check. I think that it's important that we realize that there is a divine being who does take care of us and helps us to walk the walk that he has prepared. Thirdly, we must stand with courage. In Esther 16, it says, "Go, gather together all the Jews." Esther is talking here. "Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me." Susa is the capital where they're at. "Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." You see, Esther was willing to die for her people. The scripture talks about the fact that she asked the people to fast. And then along with fasting, it goes prayer. I don't know if you've ever fasted in your life, but if you have, you know that the act of fasting is just like getting your attention from your belly up, right? Whenever your stomach growls, You're reminded of why you're fasting. And so therefore you begin to pray. You begin to pray for the reasons that you are fasting. And it helps you to commune with God and to kind of divorce yourself from your fleshliness and just talk to Him. Allow Him to work in your life. And that's what Esther is saying. That's what Esther is asking. You know, sometimes we have to stand with courage even when it is not popular to do so. This was not popular necessarily for her to stand with courage. After all, it could have been death. The king, notwithstanding, could have denied her request to come and see him and even kill him, according to the law, according to what it says in Esther. So Esther had to gain the courage from someplace. She chose to get that courage from God. From God. And so we have to stand in courage with Him. Because those times in our workplace, in our going and our coming, there are people that are anti-God. I have to tell you, I'm around it all day, every day. And so my faith is challenged on a daily basis. And maybe yours is too. Maybe it's even in your own family who don't believe in the way you believe or think you're foolish for believing the way you believe. There was a story about a young man, the turn of the 19th or 20th century, who was very rich. His parents were very wealthy from the Industrial Revolution. And he decided to go a different way than the family business. And so he went and became a missionary and left it all. His parents became very, very angry with him. And he kept praying and praying that they would find Jesus as well. But that took a lot of courage on his part. It took a lot of courage indeed to go against his family, if you will. To go into God's business. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to disown your family. That's not what I'm saying at all. Although Jesus talks about that, but that's a difference. But I am saying that we have to stand in the gap. We are living in a world that is progressively turning away from God. And we have to be the ones to stand up for God, have that courage. So I hope and pray that our bravery and our courage is where it needs to be in order to do that. I know I have to work on it every day. But God demands obedience as well. You know, Esther's obedience saved her people. She didn't know how all this was going to turn out. She knew just one thing. Through that prayer and fasting, perhaps, through Mordecai's words, through her upbringing, that she had to be obedient to what God had before her. And so we, as Christians in this world, we have to be obedient. We have to be there to pray and to worship in order for us to be obedient. We have to be strong enough. We have to have the courage enough. We have to trust God enough so that our walk is one of unity with other Christians. Our walk is obedience to the commands and the love of Jesus Christ. So many times in the Bible, especially in John, the latter parts of John, Jesus says that. If you love me, keep my commandments. Right? Even at the end of last week, the Bible says in John 17 that if we keep His commandments, then then God will come and make our home in us, right? Make our home with us. So stay in obedience. That's a hard thing to do, though. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy at all, because the temptations of the world are great. I've been reading this week, really in preparation for a few sermons down the road, about this word temptation. And it's interesting, some of the information that I've been reading that helps me to understand this thing called temptation. The research that I have been reading, the scholars are saying that the temptation of the flesh is based on the goodness that God gives us. That kind of threw me for a while, and I kept reading. And it basically is like this. God gives us every good thing, right? God gives us every good thing. But when we take those good things and we go beyond the boundaries of what God has ordained for us, that's the sin. You know, sin is not the temptation. The sin is when we succumb to the temptation. So, we have to be obedient. We have to constantly be thinking of Scripture. Constantly be thinking of God. And what God would want and what the boundaries are in our lives. Because if we go beyond those boundaries, then we are trespassing. You've heard the word, God forgive us of our trespasses. That's what it means. We have been tempted. We have succumbed to our temptation. And we have gone beyond the border of what God has set up for us. Into the evil side. Turn His goodness into evil. It's kind of like the tree of good and evil in the garden, right? God gave all the other trees to eat from. Don't hear that one. But Eve and Adam did. And so they trespassed past the border. But Esther, the book of Esther gives us a lesson in obedience. She was tempted not to do what God wanted her to do. She was tempted just to be quiet. No one knows that I'm Jewish. No one has to know that I'm Jewish. So maybe I can just skirt by. Mordecai says, we're going to kill all of your people if you don't do something. She was obedient. She used her power, her influence, her beauty, her finesse to influence the king. Finally, God uses everything and everybody for His design, His divine purpose. Not one part of our lives is not touched by God. It's kind of a double negative. Saying it like this, every part of our life is touched by God. Think about that for a second. Can you think of any part of your life, any part, truly isn't influenced or touched by God? Well, we may put the flesh in the way. We may get in God's way and be disobedient and fleshy. But in reality, if you're really a child of God, He is going to be touching every portion of your life. And even those that are not saved, not Christians, if you will. Romans 1 tells us that nature by itself touches those who are evil. The Creator has created things that only can explain through creation. Not a Big Bang Theory. Not a Big Bang Theory. So we have to realize that in our walk, in our responsibilities, God is using not only you, but everybody around you, and everything around you for His purpose. And you have the honor and the privilege, if you so choose, to embrace that. To be that pillar in this community. To be that pillar at work where people notice that you're different. That you're not like everybody else. That you have a glow about you that is contagious. That you love people as Christ commands us to love people. We have an opportunity to be Jesus to everyone around us. We're taking advantage of that. Are we asking the Lord to use us for His purposes? I hope so. I really do. Because, you're important to me. Just as much as Esther was important to God and really the whole Jewish nation. You were just important to every person in this country, every American. To stand up for what is right. We're not perfect. I heard this from a brother today coming in, Vince Lombardi. I'm going to butcher the saying, but in essence, he said, we're not perfect. But through our imperfection, we're working on excellence. I'm butchering it, I know, Vince Lombardi. I want to be excellent in the Lord. I really do. And if you're like me, I get so concerned, so disappointed in myself at times when I'm not. And I just have to go away and say, I'm sorry. I'm trying and I need help. I want to be obedient. I want to stay in your boundary. I want to be that light to this world, at least my world, the world around me. Help me to do that. I'm going to be what Jesus wants me to be. Like me, who is full of imperfections. And it's time for you. We do this on a weekly basis, and some churches across America have simply abandoned the invitation time. I gotta tell you. Whether you agree with that or not, or whether I agree with that or not, is irrelevant for that. But I think it's important to get those who don't know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior to make that decision and come forward. It was designed, this whole invitation thing was really started back in the 1700s, the Great Awakening. At the end of services. So whether it's right for the rest of the world or whether it's not, this time is designed for those who want a closer relationship with their Creator through their Son, Jesus Christ, by way of the Holy Spirit. Putting all three in. would say here are we're Christians. We try to walk the walk and talk the talk, and there are days that we fail. There are days that, man, we shake our head at the end of the day. I wish I'd have handled that better. I wish I'd have listened instead of not. Well, this time's for you too. Doesn't mean that God thinks that you're not worthy of anything. In fact, just the opposite. He loves you. And you are worthy. You are so worthy that He sent His Son to die for you. Sandy, I agree with what you said. Those songs were pretty uplifting today. Especially that one about Him hanging on a tree for us. If you don't know the Lord as your Savior, we're going to have an opportunity for you to come. Pray with you, and if you've not been baptized, do it. If you have accepted Christ, but you're having some difficulty getting back into the game, this time's for you. You can come and we can pray with you and do whatever you like. Go to Harvester Christian as a member. One of my favorite series that I happen to listen to is about being a fan of God. Not being a believer, not being a person in the game, but a fan. I want to be a fan. I want to be in the game. I want to be in the game. I want to be swinging. I want to be talking. I want to be out there. If you're like me, you want that.